Hi gentle people, good morning. Welcome back on the channel. Today I will explain you how I create these little bricks and these wall rubbles on my Tiger One. It's an easy process when foam carving is not an option. All you need is this set of bricks molds from Green Stuff World, a little bit of acrylic color and plaster for artists. To speak a little bit about bricks in Northern Europe, the color range includes all the colors in between orange, red, brown, burgundy, red, so there is no strict reference for bricks. I mean, it's a matter of visual reference. And for me, I use three main colors to mix with plaster, which were red, of course, yellow and dark brown. The different Vallejo acrylics reference I used were mainly flat yellow, flat red, camouflage black brown and old wood. All you have to do is mix these colors pure until reaching the correct color reference, and then mix these colors with plaster for artists. This type of plaster is very thin and mixed very well with acrylic colors. You add your plaster progressively until reaching a quite creamy consistency. Add then this mixture into your mold. I use for this a little piece of evergreen plastic card. Fill in the mold evenly, remove the excess and let it dry for a couple of hours. Unmolding is very easy, nothing specific, it's not rocket science. Just press on the opposite side and all the bricks will fall. It's a quite easy and funny process. As you can see, I turned myself into a brick construction company. A very interesting point with this technique is that your bricks are painted even inside, so you can crush them, you can break them, and you do not need to paint anymore. Another good point for Green Stuff World is that this set comes with three different silicone molds that give you the capability to produce different brick shapes immediately. So it's quite easy to use, and personally I never clean these molds after use. You can then add these bricks with a little bit of gravel and sand that you pick up in the garden or in the streets. That's what I did personally, so that's quite easy. You crush some bricks and then you spread this mixture on your model. I then used sand and gravel glue from Migamo to fix this mixture on my kit. I did some testing before just to check that this glue was not creating shiny result or was not modifying the colors and the textures, and it went all right, no problem with this, so I used it on my finished Tiger One. To finalize the blending process of these rubbers with my hull, I use Migamo pigments. I use the industrial city dirt, beach sand and Gulf War sand that I finally fixed with a little bit of white spirit. Now, a little drawback of this method, there is always a drawback, is that, you know, plaster is quite thirsty. And even if you do not produce thousands of bricks, you know, Vallejo paint is rather expensive. Quick calculation, one jar of Vallejo paint is 17 milliliters and costs around 2.8 euro, so that's something around 165 euro per liter. So we can say definitely that it's quite expensive. Plaster being greedy, I decided to search a little bit other options. The first trial I did was with Deco Art Americana acrylic paint. You can use it pure without adding any water and mix it directly with plaster, and the result was just perfect, no problem. I did another trial with Amsterdam acrylic paint. It's a little bit more expensive. That series is more problematic to my point of view, because the paint in itself is more creamy, and because of its texture I had many times problem of retraction after the drying time. The solution to this problem was to add water with the paint prior adding the plaster, just to have a more liquid texture. But in turns it creates another problem. Having a more liquid product, you need to add more plaster. The plaster being white, it will modify the final color of the results, so it will lighten the final color. So definitely I would not recommend using this type of paint, more creamy, just like the Amsterdam series, and would prefer using the Deco Art Americana. Now the cheapest way, but also probably the most realistic one, is to use clay, just like when producing real bricks. So you can use modeling clay, pure. I did some trials adding a bit of water, but it's completely useless. It just makes the whole process more dirty. You can use it pure, push it inside the mold with your fingers and let it dry. Unmolding is really easy and the bricks are just perfect and realistic. With respect to the price, well, it's a bit less than €3 for 1 kilo of clay, so definitely it's the cheapest way to build bricks at this stage. But there is a small drawback. As I said, there is always a drawback. And this one is that all your bricks will have the same color. So you will have 1 kilo of bricks of the same color. Well, to terminate this video, I will just explain quickly how you can create a small wall section using these bricks. It's probably not very handful to use these little bricks one by one to create a complete building, unless you are really patient and you want to experiment the thing. But to my opinion, I think these little bricks are more useful to create rubbles and small destroy wall section that you can put here and there on your models or dioramas. So for more extensive work, like creating a full building or a complete facade, I would rather suggest you to do it with foam carving technique. This is the technique that I will use to create my bridge, the bridge of Ramelle, in the near future. So if you are interested in foam carving technique, stay tuned. I will share the technique later on. So as you can see here, I started to glue all my little bricks one by one using PVA glue. I then reinforced this assembly with sand and gravel glue, then let it to dry for a couple of hours. Here is the result, and you can see that there is already a lot of color variation, which is a good point. The next important step was to damage all the bricks one by one, especially the edges. I use for this my hobby knife and a metal claw. I focused my attention on all the joints in between the bricks, opening small trenches in between the bricks, but also breaking some corners and making scratches on the brick surfaces. It's a very easy process due to the plaster texture. It's really soft and easy to work. I then fill in all the joints in between the bricks with Gulf War sand pigments. I remove the excess with a paintbrush and I fix all these pigments with white spirit. I then add another layer of these pigments on the edges and within the corners around the wall, and I fix these pigments once again with white spirit. I repeat this process with beach sand pigments that time, just to increase the tone variation. The beach sand pigments being much lighter, I only applied them at some small locations. To increase the realism of my wall, I then applied some streaks using the streaking grime from Kettenkrad. You can apply the product pure and then use a paintbrush with a little bit of white spirit to blend this color with the rest of the wall. I also wanted to add a rusty nail, you know, as you can find in all barns, in farms and so on. So I used melted plastic to do my nail and glued it with cyanoacrylate glue. I passed on it rapidly a coat of medium rust from Kettenkrad and a few spots of dark rust above it. To simulate the rusty streak below the nail, I use rust streaks from Kettenkrad, pure. I apply it with a paintbrush, and again, just like for streaking grime, I passed afterwards a paintbrush with white spirit. I then add 3 or 4 layers of light rust wash from AK in the crevices, just to give more color variation. The nail edge receive a little bit of black pencil to simulate the metal appearance. The finishing touch on this little wall section was to add a little bit of nature effect, slimy grime light from Migamo. This product replicates the appearance of humidity with a greenish tint above your model. In order not to overdo the effect or to make it more progressive, what I did was apply a bit of product on a flat paintbrush, remove the excess with a paper towel and dry brush your wall, and repeat the action 4 or 5 times. Give it a bit of air dryer to accelerate the drying process. Once you have the greenish result you want, just take another paintbrush with a little bit of white spirit and remove the excess, brushing the wall vertically to create natural vertical streaks. That's all, folks. A little bit of gravel from your garden, a few accessories, and this little wall will make all its effects on your diorama. Thanks for watching. Hope you have learned something interesting, and greetings from Portugal. Ciao!